Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In this episode, we are going to finally build the primaries for the Red Demon's new exhaust manifold. So I have the collector up in the fixture, and based off of the wastegate dump tubes, I went ahead and I located the two wastegates. They're in their correct orientation as far as how they are clocked, and all of this is ready to accept some pipe and to become at least fabricated manifold. So we are going to alter the design a little bit from the way that it was before. If you can see on this manifold, this is a twin scroll manifold, so you pair the two outside primaries and the two inside primaries. So the two outside primaries go to this front collector half, whereas the two inside primaries go to the rear collector half. So what we are going to do with this one is simply flip-flop that orientation. So 1 and 4, or the two outsides, will go to the rear, and the two middles will go to the front. Now, there isn't a huge performance benefit as to why I want to do this. I just want to change the orientation so that way I can put my own primary architecture or employ my own primary architecture in the construction of this manifold. So if I would just copy what they had done with the old one, the manifold would likely end up looking very similar to that one. Whereas if I alter that orientation, then I can make it kind of all my own. So we have, just mocking up this primary here, we have a 15-degree bend, a straight section, and a long radius 90. So I'm just looking at that there. It looks like minus the straight being a little bit short, we are right on where we need to be as far as that construction goes. So hopefully the rest of these primaries go that quickly, as this manifold, there really won't be that many bends, at least for the two outside pipes. The two middle ones, those might get a little bit tricky, as if it works out in practice the way that it's roughly worked out in my mind, there'll be some pretty neat looping and swooping of pipes that should look very aesthetically pleasing if all goes well. So with that being said, I'll stop rambling now, and we can go ahead and begin building this manifold. And there we have it, the new Red Demon manifold, fabricated and ready to weld. So here is new, and here is old, just to give you guys a little bit of a comparison between the two. Like I said, I altered the routing of the primaries. Like we said before, the outsides initially came to this front half of the collector. The insides went to the rear half. On this one, the outsides go to the rear half, and the insides and the middles go to the front half here. So just wanted to change that up so I could play with the architecture of the primary pipes a little bit. So I'm very happy with how this came out, and I think it looks sweet. Leaves clearance for their fitting down here for their boost control system, clearance to the wastegates and all of that. And I'll have to take a couple of measurements just to make sure that from the head flange to out here, we did not end up going longer than that, or a longer distance, as if you remember, like I said, I think either earlier in this video or in the previous video, that they were having a little bit of interference issues, as evidenced by the witness marks here on this bend. So all in all, I think it looks sweet, and now we should be able to weld it. But between being out of time today and not wanting to rush that portion of it, we will weld it another day. I want to take a little bit of time to sit and think and make sure that this design and this build for this manifold is exactly the way that I want it to be. And I will also check with the Boostin' crew to make sure that they are happy with what I've done so far. If not, then I'll have to start rebuilding. But all in all, very happy, and was a very successful day building these pipes. So I'm going to get out of here for today, and we will reconvene in the near future to make more progress on this manifold. So after I got off work yesterday, after building the primaries for the new Red Demon manifold, I sat and I looked at the photos that I took of it and realized that I'm really not happy with the way that two of the primaries are constructed. So these two right here, I think it looks a little bit odd, and I think it would look a little bit better if this primary went here and this primary snaked over top of it. So I know it's just being a little bit nitpicky, but when you have a part that is going on a car of this caliber and that receives as much notoriety as it does, it really pays to put forth the effort and to make the parts as nice as you can, and to make them look as aesthetically pleasing, aesthetically proper, and all of that. So that's one bit of advice I would give any welder fabricator that doesn't do it already, is always, especially with a custom job like this, take photos of it and at least take a day to sit and study and sit and reflect upon the work that you have done. Because if I would have gone ahead and welded this together yesterday, then I would have ended up regretting it and not being happy with the finished product. So like I said, we're going to, first thing today is take these two off, cut them apart, and essentially start over with those two. So it might sound crazy, but I think by the time everything's said and done, it will make this look a little bit more proper and a little bit more refined. So just to have this one long primary on top of everything else looks a little bit goofy in my opinion. So we'll go ahead and bring this one at least onto the same plane, or aesthetically onto the same plane, and make it look a little bit more proper. So before I keep rambling on this way, let me go ahead and get these primaries knocked off of here, get them cut apart, and we can start going with the rebuild of those two. With these two primaries busted apart now, you can see all the different components that went into them, and that's the one nice thing about reworking primaries this way, is especially if you have primaries that are of complex structure the way that these were, being the number of pieces that are involved with them. When you cut them apart, you have all of these pieces that are already prepped and chamfered and everything else and ready to go into service. So you cause yourself, or you spend more time rebuilding the primaries, but you save time with not having to go ahead and cut and make new pieces, or at least you're limiting the number of pieces that you have to make. So now we are going to take this primary to the lower port and this primary to the higher port on the collector. So let's go ahead and start working on these and come up with V2 of this manifold for the V2 Red Demon. here we have the second iteration, or the second rendition of this new manifold for the Demon. So, like we said before, I switched the orientation of these two pipes that go to the front half of the collector, and I like the way this looks much more than the previous iteration. I think it just looked a little bit odd, looked like I built 3 of the primaries, and then couldn't exactly figure out what to do with the 4th. But we are all set now with this iteration. Now I'll send a couple of photos to Devin to make sure that he still likes the new design. If not, then we'll go back and reconfigure it to the old design. But I think he's going to like what we have going on here. Looks a little bit nicer having these two pipes run roughly parallel to each other. And I also did measure from the head flange surface to the outside of the collector on this manifold and the old manifold, and we are more than good enough in terms of the spatial constraints that we're working with to not have, or to avoid having this manifold run into any portions of the body on the car. So let me go ahead, send those photos over to Devin, make sure that we are good to go with the new design, and if we are, we can go ahead and start welding the primaries. And just like that, at the end of probably a 30-second time-lapse montage for you guys and a couple hours for me, we have all of the primaries welded for the Demon's new manifold. So these came out very nice. You can see we have to deal with GoPro focus, but you can see nice colors and uniformity throughout, and they all fit back in the fixture as well as I need to, meaning that I'll have to do some tailoring to get everything to fit, but that is just the nature of the beast when you're building an exhaust manifold. So this, getting everything welded, that's all I have time for today. So we will reconvene very shortly and get this wrapped up, get all the primaries welded onto the head flange and the collector. And at that point, we'll be ready for our final cleanup, welding the inside of the head flange, sanding the head flange, and this baby's almost done. So I will see you guys then, and we will get this thing wrapped the rest of the way up. We are back to finish the Red Demon's new manifold today. Now, if you notice with my hat and, let's see, maybe my shirt there, the boosting guys were thoughtful and kind enough to send me a little care package. So I got hat, shirt, hoodie, or actually a couple of shirts, and then some stickers as well. So thank you guys very much for sending that out. It means a whole lot, and I'm always happy to wear apparel and support the brands that support me and are out there getting it done. So we now have the collector and the head flange and everything in the fixture, and I went ahead and I modified the fixture a little bit. I pulled the head flange plate off of another one of my fixtures that goes ahead and locates the head flange a little bit more precisely than what I had before. So I went ahead and put the old manifold in, and I've already test fitted everything. Primaries still line up. Everything's good to go in that regard. I just wanted this to dial in and verify that I am 100% in the same locations, which now we are. So not a whole lot more to say right now, I guess, other than I went ahead and off camera, I put the EMAP bung in, or the exhaust manifold pressure bung, which you can see where my index finger is right there. So it's just a number 4 bung that Devin uses to log back pressure in the manifold itself. So he can determine how efficient the car is running with a given turbo on it, and use it as a tuning aid to help them further dial the car in and go faster and faster. So other than that, everything is exactly as we left it, and now the only thing left to do is to go ahead and start assembling this thing. So let's go ahead and get after it. There, the Red Demon's new exhaust manifold is welded and is now one piece. So we still have a couple of orders of operation or orders to attend to with this exhaust manifold. And that will be welding the inside of the head flange, putting the EGT bungs on, putting a logo tab on it, and then sanding the head flange, doing a QC check, so on and so forth. So there's still a little bit of work to be done, but this thing is hot off the press. I literally just got done welding it maybe 10 seconds ago, and I am stoked with the way that it came out. All the welds came out nice, and even with the tighter merge angle or merge collector angles, I was still able to get the torch in and weld the last primary without really any drama. So that's always an added bonus, and it pays to kind of plan ahead for leaving yourself little pockets to be able to fit the torch into, to be able to fully weld a manifold together, as it really sucks to be all but one primary welded onto the collector and then realize that you either screwed your order of operations up with how you were reassembling it for the final assembly, or you've welded yourself and built yourself into a corner that you can't easily make your way out of. But like I said, that was not the case for this one, and it is all together now. So it's still very hot. It needs to cool down for a bit before I can pull it off of the fixture. So I will let it cool, and then I will reconvene with you guys in a little bit once we can take this thing off of the fixture and see it, or I can hold it in my hands for the very first time. So while we're here, figured I'd show you guys a quick little trick when you're putting EGT bungs in. These are 1/4 inch bungs, so obviously you drill a 1/4 inch hole, but rather than guessing as far as the alignment of the bungs in each one of the primaries, like you guys just saw me do, you can just take the drill bit, drop it down into the hole. That holds the bung in the position that it needs to be, and then as a little bit of insurance afterwards, once you have them tacked in, you can go ahead, take the drill bit, run it back through the holes just to clean out any edges or anything like that, any possible slight misalignments that you would have. And at that point, you are good to weld these in. So we're at the point where I can weld them now. let me go ahead and get this thing plugged up with some foil, and we can get these welded in, get the logo welded on, get the head flange welded, and get this thing wrapped up. And there we have the finished Red Demon exhaust manifold. And I put the old one up on the bench here next to it just to compare and contrast between the two. So there you guys can see the main differences between them. So like we said before, still the same flange placements, just different architecture for the primary construction. So I am very happy with how this came out. This is a 321 stainless piece. This one's probably 304. It's coated, so it's difficult to tell. But very happy with the end result, and this should serve them very well in their quest for a 6-second pass. I am very happy that we have the Red Demon manifold completed. So with the completion of this manifold now, that's going to be the end of this video. So thank you guys very much for tuning in, sticking around, and watching me build that thing. I don't do much custom work any longer, but every so often, if stars align and I find the project interesting enough, then I will take on a custom job. And I mean, who could turn down the opportunity to build a part for the Demon? But before I ramble on incessantly, let's go ahead and end the video. So you guys are awesome. Again, thanks for tuning in, sticking around, watching me do this, and thank you guys for making the channel what it is. It's all you guys. You guys keep me going. I'm just the guy here playing around with tools, parts, materials, projects, and what have you. But until next time, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and I will see you guys then.